speed, style, and durability, some motorcycles check all the boxes. But the ones that truly earn their place in history are the ones that continue to capture hearts decades later. The 1980s brought us a fleet of bikes that have withstood the test of time. From powerful performance machines to timeless classics, these are the 15 most loved motorcycles of the 1980s. Number 15, Yamaha SR 400. Some motorcycles earn their place in history through sheer speed, others through cutting-edge innovation. But a select few become legends because they are simply impossible to outgrow. The Yamaha SR 400 was exactly that, a motorcycle that delivered a pure, unfiltered riding experience that still captures the hearts of riders to this day. At the core of this machine was a 24.3 cubic inch, air-cooled single-cylinder engine, a design that was as simple as it was enduring. Yamaha understood that not every rider wanted a high-revving sport bike or a heavyweight cruiser. Some just wanted a motorcycle that did exactly what it needed to do, without unnecessary complexity. The SR 400 embodied that philosophy, offering an engine that delivered smooth, predictable power with an unmistakable thump that made every ride feel alive. But what made this motorcycle truly special was how it connected the rider to the road. Weighing in at just 385 pounds wet, it was incredibly light, making it easy to handle for beginners, while still offering enough stability to keep experienced riders entertained. Whether carving through city streets or taking the long way home, this machine felt effortless, responding instantly to every input, with the kind of raw mechanical feedback that modern motorcycles often lack. With 27 horsepower at 6,500 revolutions per minute, the SR 400 was never about overwhelming speed, but it had just enough punch to make every ride engaging. The 5-speed transmission was perfectly matched to its power band, delivering smooth shifts in a ride that felt confident at any speed. This was a motorcycle that encouraged exploration, inviting riders to enjoy the road rather than rush through it. Despite its simple design, the SR 400 was built to last. Owners have pushed these machines well past 100,000 miles, with nothing more than routine maintenance, a proof of Yamaha's commitment to quality. With fuel efficiency averaging around 70 miles per gallon, it was not just fun, it was practical, making it the perfect choice for riders who wanted a classic experience without breaking the bank. The Yamaha SR 400 was more than just a motorcycle, it was a time machine. It carried the spirit of the 1970s into the 1980s and beyond, proving that simplicity, elegance, and pure riding pleasure never go out of style. Number 14. BMW R100 RS. The BMW R100 RS was one of those machines, a motorcycle that redefined sport touring and became an instant classic the moment it hit the road. At its heart was a robust 60.7 cubic inch, air-cooled 2-cylinder boxer engine, a power plant that delivered smooth and consistent performance over endless miles. BMW had already built a reputation for reliability, but this machine took it to another level, proving that power and longevity could go hand in hand. With a top speed of over 120 miles per hour, it was one of the fastest touring motorcycles of its time, offering riders the perfect blend of speed and stability. What truly set this motorcycle apart was its aerodynamics. It was the first production bike to come with a factory-designed full fairing, an innovation that did more than just look good. The wind tunnel-tested fairing provided unmatched protection against the elements, making long-distance riding more comfortable, while also improving high-speed stability. BMW was not just building another motorcycle, they were shaping the future of sport touring. Weighing in at 520 pounds wet, the R100 RS was solid and planted, yet surprisingly nimble for its size. The combination of its stiff steel frame and precisely tuned suspension made it one of the smoothest handling motorcycles of its era. Whether cruising down the highway or carving through winding roads, it remained composed, effortlessly absorbing bumps and keeping the rider in control. With 70 horsepower at 7,000 revolutions per minute, it had enough muscle to pull confidently at any speed, while 49 pound-feet of torque gave it a strong mid-range punch. The 5-speed transmission delivered seamless shifts, and BMW's legendary shaft drive system ensured a near-maintenance-free riding experience. This was a motorcycle built for riders who valued both performance and practicality. Decades later, many of these machines are still on the road, a proof of their bulletproof engineering. The BMW R100 RS was not just a motorcycle, it was a statement. A machine built to go anywhere, conquer any road, and remain unforgettable long after its production ended. Number 13. Yamaha RD 350LC. This was not just a motorcycle. It was a warning to every rider on the road: keep up or get left behind. The Yamaha RD 350LC was a fire-breathing two-stroke that redefined what middleweight performance meant in the early 1980s. It was fast, it was wild, and it became an obsession for those who dared to ride it. At its heart was a 21.3 cubic inch, liquid-cooled parallel twin engine, a revolutionary upgrade from Yamaha's older air-cooled models. This power plant gave the motorcycle sharper throttle response, improved cooling, and most importantly, blistering acceleration. With 49 horsepower at 8,500 revolutions per minute, it was a screamer, always eager to launch forward with the slightest twist of the throttle. But this machine was not just about speed, it was about control. Weighing only 370 pounds wet, it was incredibly nimble, allowing riders to flick it into corners with ease. The lightweight tubular steel frame kept it planted, while its suspension soaked up imperfections, making it just as thrilling on winding back roads as it was on the track. Top speed? Over 110 miles per hour, which was no small feat for a motorcycle of this class. More importantly, it reached those speeds in a way that made every second electrifying. The 6-speed transmission was tuned perfectly to keep the engine in its high-strung power band, rewarding riders who knew how to time their shifts just right. Fuel efficiency was never a strong suit, but no one cared. Riders did not buy this machine to count miles per gallon. They bought it to chase adrenaline. Every time they kicked it into life, a signature blue haze of two-stroke exhaust filled the air, a reminder that this was a machine built for those who craved raw, mechanical excitement. The Yamaha RD 350LC was more than just a fast motorcycle. It was a statement. It was a middleweight that embarrassed bigger bikes, a two-stroke that refused to be tamed, and a machine that made sure every ride was unforgettable. Number 12. Suzuki Katana. With its futuristic design, raw performance, and razor-sharp handling, it did not just break the mold, it set a new standard for what a sport bike could be. At its core was a 65.8 cubic inch, air and oil-cooled inline 4-cylinder engine, a power plant that made this motorcycle one of the fastest production bikes of its time. Producing 111 horsepower at 8,500 revolutions per minute, it had the kind of top-end rush that made riders feel like they were breaking the sound barrier, and they almost were, because with a top speed of over 145 miles per hour, this machine was an absolute rocket. But the Katana was not just about speed, it was about precision. Weighing 526 pounds wet, it was lighter than many of its rivals, giving it an edge in handling. Suzuki paired it with a stiff double-cradle steel frame, ensuring that every ounce of power translated directly to the pavement. The suspension, a combination of telescopic front forks and adjustable rear shocks, gave riders the confidence to push the limits, carving through corners with surgical accuracy. Then, there was the styling. Designed by German engineer Hans Muth, the Katana's angular bodywork looked like it had come straight from the future. The sharp, aggressive lines and distinctive square headlight made it impossible to mistake for anything else on the road. Even today, decades later, it still looks ahead of its time. Torque was just as impressive as horsepower, with 71 pound-feet delivered at 6,500 revolutions per minute. This meant riders did not have to wring the throttle to get moving. Power was always on tap, making highway pulls and overtakes feel effortless. And despite its race-ready nature, the Katana still offered a reasonable ride for long distances, proving that extreme performance did not have to come at the expense of comfort. The Suzuki Katana 1100 was not just a motorcycle, it was a revolution. It redefined sport bike design, shattered speed records, and left a legacy that riders still admire today. Number 11. Kawasaki Z1. Before this motorcycle hit the streets, high performance belonged to the racetrack. Then Kawasaki unleashed the Z1, and suddenly, raw speed and brute power were available to anyone with the guts to twist the throttle. It was not just fast, it was a statement, a machine that shattered expectations and rewrote the rules of street performance. At the heart of this beast was a 66.3 cubic inch, air-cooled, inline four-cylinder engine, a power plant that set the gold standard for muscle bikes. Producing 82 horsepower at 8,500 revolutions per minute, it delivered an intoxicating mix of speed and aggression. This was a motorcycle that did not ease into power. It hit hard and kept pulling, pushing past 130 miles per hour with ease. But the real magic was not just in the numbers, it was in the way this machine rode. Kawasaki designed the Z1 with a steel double cradle frame, keeping it stiff and predictable at high speeds. Weighing 540 pounds wet, it struck the perfect balance between stability and agility, making it a powerhouse on the straights while still manageable in the corners. Riders who had only experienced smaller twin-cylinder bikes were stunned by how smoothly the Z1 handled its raw speed. Torque was just as impressive, with 54 pound-feet delivered at 7,000 revolutions per minute. That meant this motorcycle had serious mid-range punch, making it effortless to launch off the line or roll on the throttle in top gear. The 4x4 exhaust system not only looked aggressive, but delivered a deep, throaty growl that let everyone know this was not just another motorcycle, it was the king of the streets. Braking was handled by a single front disc and a rear drum, which by 1970s standards was cutting edge. Fuel efficiency hovered around 40 miles per gallon, but no one cared. This machine was built to be ridden hard, to dominate highways, and to leave everything else in the dust. The Kawasaki Z1 did not just raise the bar, it launched it into the stratosphere. It was the first true Japanese superbike, a motorcycle that proved street riders could have it all: power, style, and relentless performance. Number 10. Honda CB750. Before this motorcycle, high performance belonged to the racetrack, and reliability was a gamble. Then, Honda built a machine so revolutionary that it shattered every expectation, forcing the entire motorcycle industry to catch up. The CB750 was not just another bike, it was the super bike that started it all. At its heart was a 45.8 cubic inch, air-cooled, inline four-cylinder engine, a power plant that redefined what a street motorcycle could be. Producing 68 horsepower at 8,500 revolutions per minute, it delivered the kind of speed and smoothness that had never been seen in a mass-produced bike. With a top speed of over 120 miles per hour, this was no longer just transportation. It was a ticket to serious performance. But Honda did not stop at speed. They engineered this machine to be as reliable as it was powerful, giving riders an electric starter at a time when many still relied on a kickstart. The overhead camshaft design kept the engine running effortlessly, while the 4x4 exhaust gave the bike a deep, throaty growl that let everyone know it meant business. Weighing 519 pounds wet, the CB750 was stable at high speeds, but still agile enough for city riding. Its steel double cradle frame provided a solid, predictable ride, while the front hydraulic disc brake, one of the first on a production motorcycle, gave it stopping power that matched its acceleration. Torque was just as impressive, with 44 pound-feet delivered at 7,000 revolutions per minute. That meant the bike had a serious mid-range punch, allowing riders to roll on the throttle without constantly downshifting. Fuel efficiency averaged around 40 miles per gallon, proving that performance did not have to come at the expense of practicality. This motorcycle was more than just a success. It was a legend. It crushed the competition, outselling and outperforming everything in its class, while forcing European manufacturers to completely rethink their designs. The Honda CB750 did not just set the stage for modern sport bikes, it created them. And decades later, its influence can still be felt on every high-performance motorcycle in the world. Number 9. Triumph Bonneville T140. There are motorcycles, and then there are legends. The Triumph Bonneville T140 was not just a motorcycle, it was an icon, one that carried the rebellious spirit of the 1960s into the 1980s. This was a machine that oozed character, a classic British twin that refused to be forgotten. At its core was a 44.8 cubic inch, air-cooled, parallel twin engine, an updated version of the legendary power plant that had already cemented Triumph's place in motorcycle history. With 50 horsepower at 6,500 revolutions per minute, it had just the right amount of punch to make every ride engaging. Riders did not need blistering top speeds to enjoy this machine. What mattered was the way it delivered power, with a smooth, unmistakable rumble that could only come from a classic British twin. Weighing 412 pounds wet, the Bonneville T140 was light by the standards of its time, making it incredibly fun to throw around corners. Triumph equipped it with a strong steel cradle frame, ensuring it remained stable at high speeds while still being nimble enough for city riding. With a top speed of over 115 miles per hour, it had no trouble keeping up with modern traffic, proving that old-school engineering still had plenty to offer. But the real magic of this motorcycle was in the way it felt. From the moment riders twisted the throttle, they were greeted with 44 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 revolutions per minute, providing plenty of low-end pull for effortless cruising. The 5-speed transmission was a welcome upgrade from earlier models, allowing for smoother shifts and more refined highway riding. Fuel efficiency hovered around 45 miles per gallon, making it a practical choice for riders who wanted classic style without constantly stopping at the pump. And unlike many British motorcycles of the past, the Bonneville T140 was surprisingly reliable, with updated electronics and improved build quality that kept it running strong for decades. The Triumph Bonneville T140 was not just a motorcycle, it was a legacy on 2 wheels. It carried the spirit of the past, while proving that timeless design and pure riding pleasure never go out of style. Which motorcycle from the 1980s stole your heart? And did we miss a legend? Share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most iconic motorcycles. Number 8. Harley-Davidson Softail. The Harley-Davidson Softail was not just a motorcycle, it was a statement, a machine that carried the soul of old-school Harley-Davidson styling while delivering a smoother, more refined ride. It was the best of both worlds, wrapped in chrome and attitude. At its heart was a 74 cubic inch air-cooled V-twin engine, a motor that delivered the deep, rumbling soundtrack that only a Harley-Davidson could produce. With 66 pound-feet of torque at 3,500 revolutions per minute, it had the kind of effortless low-end pull that made every twist of the throttle feel powerful. Riders did not need to push this bike hard. It just cruised with authority, eating up the miles with a sense of ease that defined the Harley-Davidson experience. Weighing in at around 600 pounds wet, the Softail was built for the open road. Despite its size, it was surprisingly manageable, thanks to its low center of gravity and well-balanced frame. The real game-changer, however, was the hidden rear suspension. Unlike traditional hardtails that punished riders with a rigid frame, the Softail's concealed shocks provided a much smoother ride without sacrificing the classic hardtail look. This was the innovation that set it apart, offering both style and comfort in one package. With a top speed of around 105 miles per hour, the Softail was not built for high-speed thrills, but that was never the point. This was a motorcycle designed for cruising, for feeling the road beneath you, for soaking in the rumble of the V-twin as the scenery rolled by. The 5-speed transmission made highway cruising effortless, allowing riders to sit back and enjoy the ride without constantly shifting gears. Fuel efficiency hovered around 45 miles per gallon, making it a surprisingly practical choice for long-distance touring. And when it came to reliability, Harley-Davidson had made major strides, ensuring that this motorcycle was not just about style, it was built to last. Number 7. Honda VF 750F Interceptor V45. This was the motorcycle that made riders rethink everything they knew about performance. The Honda VF 750F was not just fast, it was a technological flex, a machine that blended power, precision, and innovation in a way that left the competition scrambling to keep up. At its heart was a 45.8 cubic inch, liquid-cooled, 90-degree V4 engine, a groundbreaking design that gave this motorcycle an edge over traditional inline-4 setups. With 94 horsepower at 10,000 revolutions per minute, it delivered a smooth yet aggressive power band that pulled hard across the rev range. Riders who were used to older air-cooled engines were blown away by how effortlessly this machine accelerated, climbing past 130 miles per hour with ease. But speed was only part of the equation. Honda designed this motorcycle to handle like a dream, and they succeeded. Weighing 542 pounds wet, it was balanced and responsive, making it one of the most confidence-inspiring sport bikes of its time. The lightweight double-cradle steel frame provided exceptional rigidity, while the front telescopic forks and Pro-Link rear suspension absorbed bumps with precision, keeping the ride smooth and controlled. Torque was just as impressive, with 51 pound-feet available at 7,500 revolutions per minute. That meant riders could twist the throttle at almost any speed and feel an immediate surge of power, whether launching off the line or blasting down the highway. The 6-speed transmission made gear changes seamless, allowing the VF750F to stay in its sweet spot no matter the riding conditions. Fuel efficiency hovered around 45 miles per gallon, proving that high performance did not have to come at the cost of practicality. But what truly set this motorcycle apart was its engineering. Honda's V4 engine was built to last, with innovative lubrication systems that helped eliminate the dreaded camshaft wear issues that plagued earlier models. The Honda VF750F was not just a sport bike, it was a revolution on two wheels. It showed the world that cutting-edge technology and bulletproof reliability could go hand in hand, making it one of the most loved motorcycles of the 1980s. Number 6. Ducati 900 SS. Some motorcycles do more than turn heads, they make hearts race. The Ducati 900 Supersport was not just a bike, it was a statement, a machine that combined aggressive performance with the kind of raw, mechanical beauty that only Ducati could deliver. It was fast, it was loud, and it was impossible to ignore. At its core was a 54.9 cubic inch, air and oil-cooled 90-degree L-twin engine, a power plant that gave this motorcycle its signature character. With 80 horsepower at 7,000 revolutions per minute, it delivered smooth, predictable power with a deep, throaty growl that made every ride feel like an event. Unlike high-revving inline fours, this machine was all about usable power, strong in the mid-range, effortless on the throttle, and perfect for real-world riding. But what truly set the 900 Supersport apart was the way it handled. Weighing just 429 pounds wet, it was light, flickable, and confidence-inspiring. Ducati's iconic steel trellis frame gave it razor-sharp precision in corners, allowing riders to push harder with every turn. The front end, equipped with adjustable Marzocchi forks, provided exceptional feedback, while the rear monoshock kept the bike stable under hard acceleration. Torque was just as impressive as horsepower, with 57 pound-feet at 6,400 revolutions per minute. This meant the 900 Supersport did not rely on screaming high RPMs to feel fast. It delivered strong, immediate power right where riders needed it. The 5-speed transmission was smooth and engaging, rewarding riders who knew how to make the most of its power band. Fuel efficiency hovered around 45 miles per gallon, proving that high performance did not have to come at the cost of practicality. And unlike the temperamental reputation of some Ducatis, this model was built to last. With proper maintenance, it could rack up serious mileage, making it one of the most dependable Italian sport bikes of its era. The Ducati 900 Supersport was more than just a motorcycle, it was an experience. It was a machine that demanded to be ridden hard, rewarding those who embraced its raw personality with a ride unlike anything else. Decades later, it remains one of the most loved motorcycles of the 1980s, a perfect blend of speed, style, and soul. Number 5. Suzuki GSX-R 750. The GSX-R 750 did not just change the game, it reinvented it, setting a new standard for lightweight, high-performance sport bikes. This was the machine that turned racetrack technology into something riders could own, and once it hit the streets, nothing was ever the same again. At its core was a 45.8 cubic inch, oil and air-cooled, inline 4-cylinder engine, a power plant that delivered an electrifying riding experience, producing 106 horsepower at 10,500 revolutions per minute. It was a monster for its time, built to dominate both the road and the track. Riders who twisted the throttle were greeted with relentless acceleration, pushing past 140 miles per hour with ease. But raw speed was only part of the equation. The GSX-R 750 was revolutionary because of how light it was. Weighing just 465 pounds wet, it was significantly lighter than its rivals, giving it unmatched agility. The aluminum double cradle frame made it incredibly rigid, allowing riders to attack corners with precision. Every movement felt sharp, every lean effortless, and every turn was an invitation to push harder. Torque was just as impressive, with 59 pound-feet at 8,500 revolutions per minute, giving the bike explosive mid-range power. Whether blasting out of a corner or pulling ahead on the highway, it never felt underpowered. The 6-speed transmission was smooth and precise, ensuring that riders could extract every ounce of performance when they needed it most. Fuel efficiency averaged around 42 miles per gallon, making it more practical than some would expect from such a high-performance machine. But practicality was never the point. The GSX-R 750 was built for riders who wanted to experience the thrill of a race bike every time they swung a leg over the seat. Even decades later, this machine remains one of the most loved motorcycles of the 1980s, a legend that still dominates the conversation when it comes to pure, uncompromising performance. Number 4. BMW R80GS. Before this motorcycle, the idea of riding across continents on a single machine sounded like madness. Then BMW built the R80GS, and suddenly, the whole world became a playground. It was not just a motorcycle, it was an unstoppable force, one that ignored the boundaries between pavement and dirt, adventure and endurance. At its heart was a 48.8 cubic inch, air-cooled, two-cylinder boxer engine, a power plant designed for reliability over sheer speed. Producing 50 horsepower at 6,500 revolutions per minute, it delivered smooth, predictable power that made long-distance riding effortless. Whether climbing rocky trails or eating up highway miles, this engine proved that sometimes durability mattered more than raw performance. But power meant nothing without control, and that was where the R80GS truly stood out. Weighing just 456 pounds wet, it was surprisingly light for an adventure machine, giving it the agility to handle both tight trails and high-speed touring. The steel frame was built to take a beating, while BMW's monolever rear suspension provided unmatched stability, keeping the rear wheel planted even on loose terrain. With 43 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 revolutions per minute, this motorcycle had the kind of low-end pull that adventure riders dream of. It made off-road riding feel easy, allowing riders to tackle steep inclines and unpredictable conditions without breaking a sweat. The 5-speed transmission was perfectly tuned for both open highways and technical dirt paths, making it one of the most versatile machines of its time. Fuel efficiency hovered around 48 miles per gallon, giving it an impressive range when combined with its 5.2-gallon fuel tank. This meant fewer fuel stops and more time exploring the unknown, which was exactly what this motorcycle was built for. And when it came to reliability, BMW engineered this machine to last. Many of these motorcycles are still running strong decades later, proving that adventure never goes out of style. The BMW R80GS was the birth of an entire riding culture. It made adventure riding possible for the everyday rider, proving that the best roads are the ones you make yourself. Even today, it remains one of the most loved motorcycles of the 1980s, a legend built for the fearless. Number 3. Kawasaki GPZ 900R. There are fast motorcycles, and then there are motorcycles that shake the entire industry to its core. The Kawasaki GPZ 900R was the latter. This was the machine that redefined speed, technology, and performance in a single stroke, setting a benchmark that superbikes would chase for decades. At its heart was a 54.9 cubic inch, liquid-cooled, inline 4-cylinder engine, a radical shift from the air-cooled designs that had ruled sport bikes before it. Producing 115 horsepower at 9,500 revolutions per minute, it was an absolute powerhouse. Riders who twisted the throttle were launched into a world of speed that most street bikes had never touched before, pushing past 150 miles per hour with ease. But what made the GPZ 900R truly legendary was not just its speed, it was the way it handled that speed. Weighing 568 pounds wet, it was engineered with a lightweight steel frame that gave it an unprecedented level of stability at high speeds. Unlike earlier high-performance bikes that felt twitchy or unpredictable, this machine felt planted, precise, and razor-sharp in the corners. With 63 pound-feet of torque at 8,500 revolutions per minute, the GPZ 900R delivered relentless mid-range acceleration. It was just as comfortable blasting down a straightaway as it was powering out of a tight curve. The 6-speed transmission, another innovation at the time, allowed riders to make full use of its power band without sacrificing smoothness or efficiency. Fuel economy averaged around 40 miles per gallon, proving that high performance did not have to come at the cost of practicality. And unlike many sport bikes of its era, Kawasaki built this machine to last. The liquid-cooled engine reduced heat-related wear, while the overall engineering ensured that many of these motorcycles are still running strong today, a proof of their bulletproof reliability. The Kawasaki GPZ 900R was the first of its kind, a motorcycle that combined insane speed with real-world usability. Even decades later, it remains one of the most loved motorcycles of the 1980s, a machine that left everything else in its dust. Number 2. Yamaha VMAX. Some motorcycles are built for handling, others for comfort, but the Yamaha VMAX, it was built for pure, unfiltered mayhem. This was not just a cruiser, it was a drag racer disguised as a street bike, a machine so brutally powerful that it earned a reputation as one of the wildest rides of the 1980s. At its core was a monstrous 71.5 cubic inch, liquid-cooled V4 engine, a power plant that made everything else on the road feel slow. Producing 145 horsepower at 9,000 revolutions per minute, it was an absolute rocket, delivering neck-snapping acceleration that left sport bikes struggling to keep up. With a top speed of over 150 miles per hour, this was not just a fast cruiser, it was one of the fastest motorcycles of its era, period. But what made the VMAX legendary was its V-Boost system. Yamaha engineered a unique intake system that used electronically controlled butterfly valves to open up extra carburetor pathways at 6,000 revolutions per minute, delivering an insane surge of power that felt like a turbocharger kicking in. Riders who twisted the throttle past this point felt an instant, violent pull that turned the road into a blur and made even experienced motorcyclists grip the handlebars a little tighter. Weighing 634 pounds wet, the VMAX was not built for sharp cornering or nimble handling. It was built for one thing: straight-line domination. Its long wheelbase and stiff frame kept it stable at high speeds, while the shaft drive system ensured smooth power delivery without the hassle of constant chain adjustments. The dual-disc front brakes provided solid stopping power, but let's be honest, no one bought this motorcycle for its braking ability. With 83 pound-feet of torque at 7,500 revolutions per minute, the VMAX delivered relentless pull in any gear. Fuel efficiency hovered around 35 miles per gallon, but that was hardly a concern. This was not a machine for fuel economy. It was a machine for thrills. The Yamaha VMAX did not care about smooth handling or long-distance touring. It cared about raw, unfiltered speed. Decades later, it remains one of the most loved motorcycles of the 1980s, a beast that refused to be tamed. Number 1. Honda Goldwing GL 1100. The Honda Goldwing GL 1100 was not just a touring bike, it was the touring bike, the machine that transformed long-distance riding from a challenge into a luxury. At its core was a 67.1 cubic inch, liquid-cooled, flat-4 engine, a power plant designed not for blistering acceleration but for smooth, effortless cruising. Producing 81 horsepower at 7,000 revolutions per minute, it delivered a refined and predictable power band, making long rides feel effortless. Riders could sit back, twist the throttle, and watch the miles disappear without breaking a sweat. But power was only part of what made the Goldwing a legend. Honda engineered this machine for ultimate stability, and it showed. Weighing 682 pounds wet, it had a low center of gravity that made it surprisingly manageable despite its size. The fully integrated fairing and windshield provided superior wind protection, turning highway rides into a smooth and quiet experience. Torque was just as important as horsepower, and with 63 pound-feet at 5,500 revolutions per minute, the Goldwing delivered strong, steady pull in every gear. The 5-speed transmission was tuned perfectly for highway cruising, keeping engine revs low even at high speeds. Combined with its shaft drive system, this motorcycle required minimal maintenance, making it one of the most reliable long-distance machines of its time. Fuel efficiency hovered around 42 miles per gallon, a respectable figure for a heavyweight touring bike. And thanks to its 5.0-gallon fuel tank, riders could travel well over 200 miles before needing to stop. Honda also ensured the Goldwing was packed with features, including a plush seat, a full dashboard, and optional saddlebags, making it the ultimate mile muncher. The Honda Goldwing GL 1100 redefined comfort, reliability, and long-distance capability, setting a benchmark that even modern bikes still strive to match. Decades later, it remains one of the most loved motorcycles of the 1980s, proving that when it comes to crossing continents, nothing does it better than a Goldwing. From groundbreaking sport bikes to unstoppable cruisers, these 15 motorcycles defined an era and captured the hearts of riders everywhere. Each one proved why the 1980s were a golden age for two-wheel enthusiasts. Which one stands out to you? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe for more legendary motorcycle content.